Hi guys, and welcome to my journey to discover my coaching practice review. My name is Tom Walton. I'm a third year university student at the University of Central Lancashire. As part of my coaching practice module, I need to review my coaching. We will be going on a journey reflecting on my coaching this year. So, without any further notice, fasten your seatbelts, get comfy and enjoy the ride. We start our journey at planet Earth. This is where I can assess my coaching, reflect on myself, what I think I'm doing right or wrong when I'm coaching. Here on planet Earth, or what I like to call headquarters, is the blueprint to our journey. The following is a step-by-step guide to hopefully our safe adventure. So, the journey itself, this will be the step outline to hopefully be a safe journey around the planets. The first step is in headquarters. This is before setting off. I will have my plan and my performance wheel completed for myself as a sports coach. This is the preparation phase. The second step is on the journey I will need to visit all the planets listed. The third step is to take notes on each of the planet and reflect on myself using the preparation and the performance wheel. The fourth step is to return to Earth safely along with the information from the planets about the sports coaching and my performance wheel reflecting on myself to hopefully return to Earth safely. And the last step, the fifth step, is I've got to be aware of issues on the journey that weren't planned. Here is my performance wheel. The performance wheel is made up of numerous different factors which will be looked at as we are going to go through different planets. But we are going to start off with the performance wheel in September 2020. I am going to reflect on myself at the start of this journey at Earth in headquarters and see how I represent myself on the different factors. I will then be changing this over time every couple of months to see if my performance wheel changes and I rate myself differently on the different coaching factors. As we go to the different planets, we are going to be introduced to the planets by all these different types of aliens. These aliens will be able to tell us what each planet means and how that represents or how that goes towards our coaching. So why are we going on this journey all around the different planets? Well, to start with, we need to look at reflection. I need to look at myself as a coach and see what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Hopefully, I'll be able to therefore figure out why I'm doing certain stuff when I'm coaching or why I'm maybe not doing certain stuff when I'm coaching. Hopefully, it will be able to give me new ideas, so when I go into coach, whenever that is in the future, it will give me new ideas that help benefit my players. And then ultimately, it's about sports coaching. It's about looking at sports coaching as a whole and seeing which ideas or which models work or don't work. On some of the planets, there's going to be some video footage that I can access. This video footage will be captured on some planets as a way to record information and discuss the coaching ideas on the planet.
Greetings, Coach. Welcome to Planet Mercury. Here on Planet Mercury, we focus on communication and intelligence. I hope you can learn and reflect about these two factors on your coaching on this planet and take it back with you to Planet Earth.
So, welcome back everyone. We are going to be on planet Mercury today, where we're going to be looking at the mind, the communication and intelligence of a football coach and where these factors are used in coaching. And we're also going to try and reflect on ourselves when looking at these factors. I am with Mark Miller today. I've known Mark Miller for about a year, mainly through Little Kickers, and he's going to help us today look at the planet Mercury. So, Mark, if you want to give a little background about yourself, just about your coaching, your history, and we'll kind of go from there, if that's all right.
Brilliant. Hi, good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Mark Miller. I am a football coach primarily, based with Ribble Wanderers under 10s. I also work for Little Kickers as a football coach. However, they are from 18 months to 7 years, so a different demographic as well. I also work for Bolton Sports Council, where I do multi-sports, and at the moment I'm coaching primarily bike ability. That is for Year 5 and 6, another demographic. That's for boys and girls. And I also have a multi-sports qualification where I do other sports on an ad hoc basis for South Rural Borough Council. So lots of experience, lots of different age groups, lots of different sports, and it's how I can combine them to be a more effective coach.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Mark. Definitely a broad spectrum, which will give us a great idea of using these factors across a different wide range of ages and genders, which is perfect. Right, so we'll start off with the mind. Just a quick question to throw out. I'll question it, and then we'll both almost answer the question. So, as a mind, how do we think as coaches our thoughts are altered, whether we are coaching, whether after coaching, or whether it's before coaching?
So first of all, I think you need to look at your coaching philosophy.
Yeah.
What's the reason for your coaching? So my coaching philosophy is based on altruism, doing things for others. So as a grassroots football coach, my enjoyment is basically see the players develop, players doing well, enjoying what they do, and that in turn makes me enjoy it because I can see they're getting something from it. So my coaching effectiveness is then increased because I know that one, they're transferring the skills from the training field to the match area, and also that they're having the confidence to be able to be creative. And I want to empower them to do that. So my mind ethic or element is I want the players to show me their creativeness rather than saying do this, do that, whatever. So rather than being a training drill, I'd rather them work out for themselves through problem solving, and then let them be creative.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat with you, where I want the players to think for themselves, and essentially I just want it to be fun so they can learn in a fun environment. Obviously, you've had a bit more experience than me whilst coaching, so I think in terms of my mind, it's probably not as developed as much as more as why I'm coaching. I think maybe later on in my coaching experience, I'll maybe find out almost why I'm doing what I'm doing, if that makes sense. But I think, definitely I'm on the same boat as you, as in a fun environment that they need to be learning for themselves and not us telling them what to do. That's almost what I try and go for when I'm coaching. So do you think that throughout, from just watching sports, from watching different sports, that your mind can be altered when you go to coach? So you've maybe got a session plan and then you watch some sport and you think, actually, no, I'm going to do this now.
Right. So in answer to your question, also depends on whether your coaching session is for participation, or if it's for preparation. So I'll give you an example of that. So when I do bike ability, it's for participation. I don't want somebody to be the best in the class or best in the. That's to improve their skill level for everybody, so they're participating in what they're doing. So for preparation, for a team ethic, then I want them to be the best they can be, not so trying their best to be the best they can be. I'm not demanding that they be the best. So going back to the participation one, is when I do bike ability with the junior school children, we do what's called bike fix. So that this is a prelude to bike ability, where they learn more about what's called an M check, where they learn different parts of the bike, what effect they have on their bike, if that falters or they can mend it, and then we learn some tricks on how to do different things to keep the maintenance of the bike. So that's very much participation based. And obviously, what was the other one I said? So when you the preparation for a team or anything like that, and then we're looking at where do we want players. So we're looking at maybe your four-corner model of the FA. So, excuse me, your sociological, your tactical, your technical, anything like that model. So when I'm showing them, I have a magnetic board which I'll put up and I'll show the teams the position. So I'll say, so we're looking at tactical. So I'll say, right, well, you're going to be starting there, and I want you to that side. Trying to give them, so like the thirds of the pitch, for example,
Yeah.
So my current team are doing a 7-a-side. So we'll do 1 goalkeeper and 2 banks of 3.
Yeah.
So then they're working together. So they're developing a rapport between themselves.
Yeah.
To know that one, they can trust each other and depend on each other.
Yeah.
And then that's going to develop from there, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think with what you're saying there, like your mind, when you're thinking as a coach, if you think well and complex, that can transfer to the players as well. So then,
you have to break it down though.
Yeah.
To simpler format for the players to understand. It might be great having an idea, but it's how do you get your idea across to your players? You have to break it down to little bits and then expand on it as they progress. So there's no point just tell them, oh, we're doing this, this, and this, and this, and they go, I've no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, so the coaching effectiveness, okay.
Yeah.
Where I become a better coach is how do I simplify my messages to get them across, and then how do I know that message is working?
Yeah.
Can they put into action my plan? And obviously, if that does develop fruition, then I know that I've been successful.
Yeah.
And then obviously I can then look at other ways of doing things. So you're basically your building blocks, so your fundamentals of your coaching success.
Yeah.
How you develop from there, and then develop your players accordingly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you're saying now, it's really good for the best coaches can make it simple for the players to understand. But I think it goes with age as well. I think as the players get older, you can make it a bit more complex because they'll understand more.
Yes.
But I think as we're both under 10s, under 9s, under 7 level, the best coaches, we can have all the information in our mind, but make it simple for the players to understand.
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, we will go on to the next factor. So Mercury also symbolises communication. So just when you've been coaching and when you've reflected on your coaching, is there a certain type of communication that we might use to communicate with players?
Right. Well, there is an American professor who says that communication is made up of 3 elements.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously that's your spoken word, your facial, and also your body language.
Yeah.
So your body language is the majority of your communication. Is what they see first. So if you keep talking and talking and talking, they're going to switch off. They're going to disengage. Yeah. How do we keep them engaged? So, for example, at Little Kickers, okay, having fun games where it's getting them to do a celebration at the end of the thing, or a high five to give them another form of communication to say well done, or a bigger smile, or anything really where you can get your body involved. So, for example, if you're doing a demonstration of a move, so I said you were doing jumping jacks as a warp, you can show them like the arms get really up, or you can say how do we move. So, for example, different methods of movement. So you could say like a cheetah runs really fast, and you could do an example of that, or you could do something really sort of slow, and they say Coach Mark, and I got upset. And then obviously like you're doing different things, and so like if you wanted to get them to extend their knees high, like say like a dinosaur stomp, and you could really get them to exaggerate the movement, and obviously a vocal element to it as well. So just by keeping it fun, things like that. However, it's how you get your message across, as I mentioned before. The different methods of communications, you can do non-verbal and verbal. But I do think the non-verbal, your body language, is a significant element of that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's definitely. I think that's. You've almost gone to my next question of like why we use different types of communication. I think it's like that. It's for different age groups. So when you're really young, you can be your cheetah, your kangaroo, your cheetah. I think it's a cheetah or kangaroo. Just be different animals to go around. And I think it's just making them understand and keeping them on track.
I think it's the relatability of what you're trying to do for that demographic you're trying to coach. So if you've got the younger children and you want them to copy you, so you break it down into, right, how does an eagle fly? So you put your arms out wide like that, or you make a nose, or an elephant, and you can swing your trunk so they get in that. So like I say, it's a fun element, but you're getting the message across. Yeah. Where on the other hand, you've got older children. Yeah. That's why I use a magnetic board, and I can show them things where I want them to go. Yeah. This is a form of communication, but it's a different method. It's a visual aid, if you will. Yeah. A different type of visual aid that shows them more important information or more difficult information to grasp
Yeah.
but they're able to do that because of you using different methods.
Yeah. I think I remember in my first year at uni, I did some lecture on communication, and we spoke about the use of swearing when in your like an elite performance, because you'd never think about swearing to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old to tell them to do some drill.
Yeah, it's the appropriateness, isn't it? It's your language, isn't it? What language you use and how you do it. So,
and like you say, relatability and just getting the best out of your players. Just
yes, yeah.
Right, we'll swiftly go on to the next factor. So Mercury, we'll finally go on to the third one. Mercury symbolises intelligence. So, just as you as a coach, do you think that intelligence is needed whilst coaching, or any form of coach?
I think it's a vital element.
Yeah,
so
I would agree.
So your knowledge of your not only your players, or your participants, also your subject matter.
Yeah.
So the way I look at intelligence, would be classed as reflective practice.
Right.
So if I, for example, do a session 4 weeks in a row, and I was like, oh, come on, grasp it, it's so simple.
Yeah.
Who's at fault? It's my fault because I've not changed what I need to do for them to understand it. So reflective practice, is advocated as an essential part of coach education. It's considered to connect the application of professional knowledge and coaching sessions while promoting conscious craft knowledge. So to put in layman's terms, that is going back to how do I get my sessions to be effective?
Yeah.
How do I use what I've got at my disposal? So, for example, I've got quite a wealth of experience that I can draw upon.
Yeah.
Because I plan, do, and review my sessions.
Yeah.
I automatically know what similar type of sessions have gone well. On the other hand, if I weren't to do that, and then I'm just like shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
Why are they not grasping what I'm trying to tell them? I've told them in simple terms, and then you get coaches who are then shouting at the children because they're not grasping it. You need to have reflective practice, looking at yourself and saying, what can I do better? For one, for my session to be effective. Two, for my participants, my players, to grasp what they need to learn in this different scenario. So it's whether you run drill sessions or teaching games for understanding, where you put it in a game situation and then try and give them objectives to do. It's can they obtain the skills and ability necessary to grasp what you're trying to do them. So, for example, for the tactical one, are they in the right position at the right time? How do you know where to mark? At set pieces, for example, game intelligence, do I mark a player or mark a space? So it's like zonal marking or man for man marking. But for a coach intelligence, definitely reflective practice. Because it comes back down to what have I learned from this session? What can I do better to become a more successful coach? For them to learn, you're only as good as the people you're coaching. If people you're coaching not grasping their ideas, you need to make amends, not the players that you're coaching.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think going back to the point you say where if the session isn't working, you can't blame the players, because I think I always go back, and if a player isn't understanding, I would never say that it's the player that's wrong. I'd always think, right, well, what have I done wrong that they haven't understood to make the session fun? And I think if you've got that intelligence, you'll be able to think on your feet, you'll be able to change it. And that says it comes from your experience, your plan, do, review, all of that. And if you get that, and I think you can then blame yourself for if the session goes wrong. I mean, and there's some times where literally the players are the problem, but a lot of the time you can change it yourself. And
one of the things I've discovered is if you get some people in your group who understand it and others don't, you then ask somebody who understands it, can they tell their friend or teammate what they think is
Yeah.
And then that also promotes understanding them, because not only are they giving it information in layman's terms to another teammate,
Yeah.
they're breaking it down to show, yes, they've actually understood what you've said.
Yeah.
And the spoken word then, or the visibility of showing you where your movements and things like that, then they say, oh, right, and I'll grasp it now.
Yeah.
So even though you've got your ideas and simplified them, sometimes it's not enough. However, if one of your participants tells or shows the other person, then they're grasping it.
Yeah.
And then you can obviously build on that. So there are different ways of doing it. It's not just down to the coach
No.
to do it. Sometimes other players can grasp it and show their teammates what they need to do, or their version of it. So
definitely, and I think that intelligence can just come from trial and error of using that technique of just.
So, when you mention about intelligence as well, is I always allow players to make mistakes.
Yep.
Because through problem solving, their intelligence is elevated, because then they know what you need to do for that situation. So, and then that situation only come up once every 2 games, or it might come up once a season. But if they've had experience of doing that, and if they've made a mistake, they know fine well that it's not their fault. Yeah. But can we find a different solution and use our intelligence to be a better player or a better teammate? So
yeah. Well, I was actually thinking about that last night. I was thinking about mistakes in general, and I think there's almost like 2 types of mistake. You can make a mistake in a doctor scenario where in a procedure if something goes wrong, that's a mistake, and that's definitely bad. But I think in football, mistakes they're not really like that much relevance to if you make a mistake, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's where we come from, because mistakes can be a bad thing, but when there's not really a big impact to the mistake, it's actually a really good thing.
Yeah, you're looking at what the outcome of that is how can I do better next time?
Yeah.
How can I learn from this experience to become a better player, and allow them to do that in a non-threatening or a non what's the word I'm looking for?
Threatening non.
So it's basically like, it's not a non-pressurized environment.
Yeah.
So if you make a mistake, fine, okay. So you know next time, maybe try something else. Yeah. Well, like I say, problem solving is really good. So,
and I think that can be for players and coaches both.
Definitely, yeah. So I know that when I give tactical instructions on a pitch and it's not worked out, that comes down to me, and I can apologise to the players and say, "I'm sorry, that was my idea. Shouldn't have done that. Yeah. So we'll try not to do that in the future." Yeah. And then at least you know that you're being sincere with them and say, "Look, I'll hold my hand up. I made a mistake. Okay, maybe that wasn't the right time to do that. Can we move on and keep trying?" So something else about intelligence I've just thought of then is so your coaching practice. Obviously, there's lots of different levels of qualifications.
Yeah.
You're transferring of skills from one sport to the next. Yeah. So you get your fundamentals of coaching where you plan a session. It's like obviously every session does not go to plan.
No.
So then, for example, with mine, I've got an example of this is every time I coach football, I've got 3 session plans or 3 versions of the same thing. So that is 1 for like minimum participants, 2 for the so 2/3, and 1 for a full group. So then I've got something. I'm not at a loss to say, what shall I do now then? I'm already prepared for that. Yeah. So using my intelligence of my experience of having that backup plan, then I say, right, I can just amend it accordingly. Yeah. So that's like reflection in action, if you will, where you can, or on action, we can change it as will, so the session does not go downhill rapidly, and obviously you can't bring it back. So like the catastrophe 3, things like that. So intelligence, you can also look at different qualifications. Yeah. So like I've only got level 1 for football. Yeah. But I've also got level 1 for futsal. So with futsal, you get far more touches of the ball than you do with grassroots football. So some of my training games, I've used futsal training programs for my grassroots footballers to increase ball mastery of how many touches they receive on the ball at a younger age
Yep.
to get them used to the ball, get them used to one-on-one situations, get them used to two-on-one situations, offensive and defensive, and it all just builds up their confidence, knowing, yes, I've been in this situation before,
Yep.
and then I know then that obviously I prepared them the best I can be. So
Yeah, definitely.
something else like that. So
I think in general, I think intelligence can come from a lot of different places. It's just
Definitely,
about where
yeah,
you get it from.
yeah.
You pick it out and then put it in
Yeah.
your baskets. And
So
you've always got it.
yeah, it's like your hard and soft skills. It's great having all the qualifications,
Yeah,
but it's how can you put them into practice?
yeah,
It's having that blend, isn't it, of being able to use your intelligence from what you gained on a course to put it in a real life situation.
Yeah.
And again, having all that wealth of experience of different sports is, can you transfer something from one sport to the next that's worked?
yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
So in your preparation, or you give the information to players or participants. If something's worked before,
Yeah.
try it. But every session's in the individual session, so it might take a variety of ways to get your message across.
Yeah.
That's where you can use your intelligence.
That's brilliant. I think we've gone quite into a bit of detail for those 3 points for how Mercury symbolised and how it's implemented into coaching. Right. If it's all right with you, we'll go on to two more questions. Well, two more
Certainly,
slides to
yeah.
cover. So just one thing I thought would make this podcast or meeting tide a bit interesting or funny is just one thing from this week from sport that you think's funny or had an impact on you directly. So just one thing you've seen.
Okay, so my coaching philosophy for my football team is
Yeah.
draw, lose or win, we never give in.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what the score is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how well we're doing. Okay, it's we don't give in. So we're showing a character
Yeah.
that we keep on fighting to the end for each other. So it doesn't matter who starts, doesn't matter who comes on. We're always one team. So building that team ethic.
Yeah.
And today was a brilliant example of that. We came from 1-0 down.
Yeah.
I made some substitutions, but during the first half, I said to them, the players that came on,
Yeah.
the defenders are getting tired. Okay, so I put an element of doubt in their mind, and I said, you're fully fresh legs. You can run past these players.
Yeah.
And if you perform like I think you can score a goal and make a difference. Within 16 seconds of coming on,
Wow.
we got an equaliser. So not only did I motivate the players, they put into practice what we'd learnt on the training pitch about positional and things like that, and it brilliant. We then went on to win the game because they knew that they could do it, and they showed me. So our kit is sponsored by Nike, and their slogan is "Just Do It."
Okay.
So before we went onto the pitch, I said, "What does that say?"
Yeah.
The Nike side, what's their slogan? Do it. Just go and do it.
Yeah.
So they knew single-mindedly that they were going to go and try their best, regardless of what the outcome was, and that's what was my highlight of my week.
That's brilliant. And I think the highlight from my week's very similar to yours, because when my team played on Saturday, they came off at half time. I can't remember what the score was. They were winning by about 4 or 5 goals, and they were all happy. And I said to them, look, the second half, it was their first game of the season. I said, right, the second half, it's 0-0 again.
That's what I was doing.
There was confusion, like, why is it 0-0? I said, it's just 0-0 again, and you've got to go again. And thankfully, they believed me because it was only the first match of the season. But from then, it proved that they went on to score more. And I think, like you say, just do it, put the effort in.
Yeah.
It all adds up. And
it was more of the team ethos that they're working for each other.
Yeah.
Regardless who's on the pitch, there's only one outcome, and that's your outcome as a team. What can you do as a teammate to make sure your team is the best it can be? So, and that's what they did. They all teamwork together and brilliant. All support each other. Fantastic.
Brilliant.
So that's what makes coaching worthwhile when you see them putting the effort in.
It is. It definitely is. Right. That is us done. So we'll click stop recording. Thank you very much for your time, Mark.
Yeah, brilliant. So
I hope we've covered into detail quite a few of those topics or factors, whatever you call them.
Planet Mercury looks at the different types of knowledge that a coach needs. For example, they've got declarative, which is there from the Oxford reference of the awareness and understanding of information about the world, knowing that in contrast to knowing how. Or you've got procedural knowledge, or both, which is information about how to carry out sequences of operations, knowing how in contrast to knowing that. In other words, declarative knowledge means a person knows what they are doing. Procedural knowledge means a person knows why they are doing certain procedures. In a sporting context, an intelligent coach will be able to display both these types of knowledge. They will be able to source a safe coaching game or session to their specific age-relevant group, but more importantly, they will understand why they are doing what they're doing to be effective to their group of players. Lots of coaches can display declarative knowledge and put on a safe coaching session, but the most intelligent coaches display the why, the procedural knowledge. It's difficult to pinpoint how a coach can improve their procedural knowledge. Krebber and Cranton in 1997 came up with a proposed knowledge system. To become intelligent, we need the coaching knowledge model, or this proposed knowledge system. All intelligent coaches know their specifics in their sport. You wouldn't have the best hockey coach coaching football because they wouldn't know the specifics in that particular sport. They need the pedagogical process to know how to set up the coaching practice, an environment for the athletes to play in, if you like. Lastly, coaches need the ologies, the psychology, for example. This allows the coach to understand and display the why, which is the procedural knowledge. Another way of defining an intelligent coach is saying they're an expert coach. There are lots of professions out there in the world currently that can be easily classed as being an expert in their field. Pilots, for example, they are experts in their field. Doctors and surgeons, they are experts in their professions. And you also have chefs that are experts in their fields. It is straightforward to pick out an expert from the list above, as they either have a status that proves they're an expert, or we can pick out qualities to prove they're in fact an expert. So, is it the same for a coach? Well, Nash et al. In 2012 came up with characteristics that help us highlight an expert coach when analysing them. An expert coach would utilise a large procedural knowledge base to the application of problem solving. They would utilise perceptual skills, mental models. They would demonstrate effective reflection skills. They would take on their own strengths and limitations into account and manage complex planning processes. These are characteristics that were brought up, and if a coach can show these whilst coaching, then they'll be classed as an intelligent coach. Although a sports coaching is a relatively easy profession to get into, in the sense that it is easier for a coach to coach an underrated grassroots team rather than it is to become a doctor, there are simply less steps on the ladder to become a football coach. People may argue with these characteristics. Therefore, the intelligent coaches will be able to reflect on themselves and think if they have ticked all the boxes or not. They will then be able to coach again and try to improve their next personal performance whilst coaching. The intelligent coaches understand there is always more to learn.
Question for you, coach. Why should this coach use procedural knowledge? Will this make them an expert and an intelligent coach?
Definitely need to try and use procedural knowledge. It allows the coach to understand why they are coaching. Once this happens, then they'll be able to speak to their players better and build a better rapport with them. Definitely makes a coach intelligent. They'll be able to showcase this without realising it. From what I found from the video evidence from Mercury, communication can vary as a coach when you coach different age groups. For example, if you were to coach communication on a spectrum from 0 to 5-year-olds up to 80-plus-year-olds of an increasing scale of every 5 years, I can guarantee that the type of communication used will be very different. Take a men's over 35 grassroots game, of football for example. The coach of the team might use abusive or explicit language to get their point across. Cushion in 2004 said that for men that have coached in the men's game sometimes tend to be quite aggressive and even verbally abusive. There does need to be a cut-off point though. Going too far and serious negative effects will occur. However, this type of language to communicate to your players may not work with a women's football team, for example. A male coach using verbally abusive language to communicate could be seen as far too aggressive. The same could be said when coaching a group of under-11s. This type of communication would not be deemed appropriate for this young age group because using communication that is aggressive or abusive teaches them that it is okay to use the language in everyday life. Young children might not understand to just use this type of communication in a sporting context, and therefore they might start to use this language at home, at school, etc. This is why it is critical to understand who your players are when coaching and able to choose and pick the correct language to use and communicate with your players to allow them to reach the highest performance levels. Having said this, there are key points all coaches from all sports need to take away about communication. Pottrack and Purdy in 2004 said it is essential to keep things simple when talking about the delivery and coaching. This is because if concepts are kept in a straightforward manner, then players will understand what they are doing and, more importantly, why they are doing it. Therefore, linking back to the knowledge of the coach, they can explain their concepts, training sessions in a simple manner. Then it will be more likely that the players can think declaratively and procedurally. If this happens, it gives players the best chance of reaching high performance levels in the chosen sport. There is a tendency to overcomplicate coaching as a whole. The really good coaches can keep everything simple whilst including all the specific information and cues. So, linking to my experience. So firstly, little kickers. This is a small age group where I coach 18-month to 7-year-olds. Communication is vital. I need to be enthusiastic and communicate with my body language to the children. If I don't show enthusiasm, then the players aren't engaged and the session won't run as effectively. So, following on from Little Kickers is Exton Villa, where communication at Exton Villa needs to be a bit more louder because the players are of an age of 8 years old and they play football, so they're an older age group but the same sport as Little Kickers. If I don't show authority and if I was to communicate with the players at Exton Villa in a small tone and voice, then I will lose players' engagement and they won't be focused, so therefore the communication needs to be a bit more louder, and this can take place because the players are older and they won't be frightened by a louder tone of voice. So, moreover to Exton Villa is Ribble Wanderers, a similar football team to Exton Villa with the same age group, but I do need to show some declarative communication and procedural communication with the fellow coaches. I'm helping the novice coaches at this Ribble Wanderers football club out as they're new to coaching. It's difficult for me as I'm not used to this, but doing this has helped me understand things when I'm coaching and why I'm coaching, because it's gave me a different platform to speak. Normally I'm used to speaking to children, but actually speaking to different coaches makes me understand why I'm coaching more than I have done. And lastly, just my last 3 years at university has helped me get a great deal of procedural knowledge when coaching, as I've looked at different coaching styles, different coaching models, and able to put these into practice during practical sessions, and this has helped me understand a bit more about coaching as a whole. So what did I learn from the video footage from Planet Mercury? Well, from the coach Mark, in how his mind was working, he said that to show them how you are being creative through problem solving. So this is one way of communicating and intelligence, is to show them how you are being creative. So you might watch different sports, so a coaching session on participation or preparation, and then allowing yourself to break the ideas down into a simpler format, making sure the players understand all that you've taken in, all your creative thoughts, your problem solving, but put it into a simpler format for the players to understand. And this, as he said, can allow coaching effectiveness to take place. So from the video footage, communication was talked about, and communication can come in 3 different types of forms. This could be body language, so using your arms, using your legs. It can be facial, so facial expressions, whether you're smiley, whether you're sad, angry, but also spoken in terms of the words you produce out your mouth. So, moreover, intelligence was explored through the video footage, and what I could take away from it was this idea of reflexive practice, this idea of plan, do, review, which was linked heavily with the FA model. So can players pass on information that you've given to them, essentially, from this plan, do and review. If you can plan the model, then you can do it and review it. Can your players pass on the information you've given to them? And if they can, then you've done a good job of your coaching session. And I think, if anything, to take away from this idea on Planet Mercury, that coaching effectiveness is simple in its own forms, but sometimes overcomplicated. There's always complex parts, but the best coaches can put it in simple forms for the players to understand. Communication can come in lots of forms, and it's something I've learned over the past couple of years. It's not just either speaking it can come in forms of body language also, and your facial expressions, and also this idea of plan, do, review. Coaching isn't just about this 1 hour session, it's also about the hours afterwards, the hours before it, about planning it and then reviewing it. All of these take place to be an expert coach.